see if that works. Okay. Welcome everybody. Thanks for coming today to our user group network day. It's the second one of the year. I think there are a few people in the room who are new, so you just put your hand and we'll try and make you extra welcome. It's Kylie, Caroline, and Kate as well, all beginning with C or K. So, I was a bit ambitious when I put this slide together yesterday. I think, like I said, we're not going to be adding any more stars to this badge, but I think, we did as well as we could have with the players that we had. So I'm going to switch over, for those who are listening at home, I'm going to switch over just to audio. So I'm just going to click stop video, share the screen. Okay, yeah, something which you've introduced because we've had quite a lot of demand from people who are a bit further away or people who can't necessarily make it physically is the webinar option. So there are a number of people watching this from their workplaces. But I think, and hopefully you'll agree after today, being here is quite a useful experience because part of the networking and obviously talking to other people, sharing your experiences and learning from some of the material that we present and ask questions of that. So this is the plan for today. We're going to be looking at 3 areas specifically. De-Duping and merging your data. Craig is going to do a presentation on that. The next one, I'm going to do a slot on communications and reminders. And then at the end, we're going to look at the wonder of web forms. So hopefully, that whetted your appetite and you're glad that you came. And after that, then there's lunch as well. So something else to look forward to. So I hope you enjoy it. It's quite an informal day. If you've not been here before, we're here to answer your questions. It's a small group, so it's not too intimidating either. First thing I'm going to do, I think, is just actually ask people the people who are here at least, just introduce themselves, if you don't mind. So we'll just go around the room, just tell us your name, tell us which organization you work for, what your relationship is with our service or with CVCM.
Should we go first?
Okay, I'll introduce. My name is John Mann, if you don't know, and I work at GMC Databases. I manage the business unit.
I'm Sarah. I'm the technical support for GMC Databases. So when I'm sending the tickets, and
I'm Mike. I'm seeing you before. I've been here about 6 months. So I'm a web developer here at GMC, along with Shahid, who you may see later on. And later, I think. Hi, I'm Craig. I'm tech support for GMC Databases. Right, some creeping there. Who's going to go first?
I'm Amy. I work for Actual Together, so we're also some services. We're doing a lot of work with an organized database at the moment. I'm sure you can go okay.
I'm Jane Glacier. I also work for Actual. I'm in from what venue that was department. We use the best way for our service users to track I don't know how long we use the database file, but we use it for found the sheet and looked for the we used to communicate on and also currently and I'm trying to look at we kind of just got on the
Right. So we've got actually 7 people watching from home or their offices at the moment. So hello to you guys. I'm sorry if you didn't hear too much of what was said across the room as people were introducing each other. We don't have a mic that extends that far. There's a few housekeeping things I actually haven't gone over, which I do need to. There's no planned fire drills today. If the alarm does go off, then we need to leave the building using the nearest fire exit, which is, I believe, through there or through the door you came in up front. And the assembly point is just at the gates. Okay, that's not going to happen, hopefully. And here's the Wi-Fi code if you need it for the public Wi-Fi. I think that's more somewhere, but that's too. The toilets are just the way they came in past the reception, and they're the doors from this direction on the right, the double doors. Okay, everyone okay with that? The other thing is, if you want to grab a drink any time, actually, we've got refreshments through the room, just straight across the hall. There's teas, coffees, and there's biscuits, which unfortunately you can't benefit from in the webinar as well. You can. I'll try and describe it as best as possible for those watching at home. Right, so now that there's been a bit of an introduction, when we've got those coffee breaks, when we've got the lunch break, I think it'd be a good opportunity for us to meet you a bit more, have a chat, get to know your organizations, get to know you and your requirements more, and you can obviously talk to each other because I think we're all from the same sector. We all have diverse kind of organizations that we work for, but this is part of the opportunity for today. Okay, so I'm going to just go to the next slide, and I think that is De-Duping and merging. Is that right?
De-Duping and merging, yes.
Yes. So let's just check.
The fun bit of the database.
You need to log in, don't you, to site? You need to log into a site?
Have we got the demo site set up?
It's not on at the moment, no. Okay. Let me just get that loaded up for you, Craig, and maybe you can.
Yeah, I don't need to in. So yeah, if you want to fire up the first slide, please. Right. Yeah. So when we're normally delivering training, there's always like nice little slide in the training package that says instantly share contacts are stored one, and all activities are stored against that contact. And that always makes us smart because it's basically online. Duplicates or duplicate entries for individuals, for organizations, always frequent. There's various reasons that this happens. These are the main 3. User error. So someone's entering data, the warning gets flagged up. This contact already exists, but they go ahead and enter a new contact anyway. A big one is the online sign-up. So any kind of online sign-up, so a web form that we'll look at later, or a contribution or event page built within Civi, where people putting in their own details. You've got them down in their Sunday name, Joseph Smith at some email address.com. Signed up as just plain old Joe Smith. And the 2 records don't match up. Civi errs on the side of caution and creates a duplicate record. So these things happen all the time. And also, when we're doing batch imports for you, right, when we're doing batch imports for you, if we've got duplicate entries, the user place with duplicate entries in the batch import, we're not necessarily going to go through 10,000 contacts with a fine-tooth comb. So if there are duplicate entries within the batch import,
then they'll go in there as well. So there's all sorts of different points where things can go in. Can you move the slide along, John? I can't remember what I was going to say then. Yeah, no, we can do that. It's just that we can get it finished till 5 o'clock that night. No, we can give you. We'll email it out to all of you, so don't worry about having. No, it would be nice to have it here, but it was right. That's what I wrote. De-dupe features. So sorry, de-dupe short for de-duplication. So removing the duplicates. So there are rules set up in each of the things so that when you're adding a new contact and it looks like this contact we're entering matches an existing contact, and those contacts are kind of flagged up in front of you, you can actually just click on if you see that there, you can click through and start recording details against the existing contact. There are also other rules that run in the background of the online forms, and that's also checking for whether the contact matches an existing contact or not. You can, when you see and also there are during the import, there are matching rules that are going on during the import. So there are things going on to try and bring the contacts together, but not necessarily that effectively. If you find you do a quick search, either a quick search or a find contact or advanced search, and you see in the search results two contacts that you think are the same, you can check those two contacts. From the actions drop down, you can merge those two contacts. That's kind of a long-winded process. That involves you running a search, seeing contacts that match. You can only merge two contacts at a time. You can't merge multiple contacts. And so there's also what we're going to look at shortly is the duplicate search, which is you're going to run a search against the contacts in your database. It will show you existing matching contacts, and then there's a tool for you to sort of like merge them. The first time you do it, it's going to be a long-winded process. As you get through it, what you can do is you can say, as you go through it and you find two contacts that kind of look the same but aren't, you can mark those as not duplicates. And when you mark them as not duplicates, they're not returned with future searches. So that narrows everything down. But at the same time, you're always going to have people entering new contacts. You're always going to have people signing up to events. So you are always going to be just through the normal workflows. You normally just going to get things duplicates entering. So it's worth having a process in place that every couple of weeks, every month or so, some of these jobs just to sit down in front of the screen and just go click, 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 and pick out and match the duplicate contacts. And it's worth doing that as a person, having a pair of eyeballs on it, because you've got to know your data better than we are. You've got to know who your contacts are. So you can probably spot a contact that's been misspelled, or someone's used their Sunday name, or when it's an organisation and someone's put Manchester Community Central instead of MAC, or vice versa. So when groups have like nicknames or abbreviations, that's when group or organisation contacts get duplicated. So next please. Right. So don't worry, I'm going to demo this in a moment. So there's just some slides that you can take away with you. So from your CRM menu, contacts drop down at the bottom, there should be an entry that says find and merge duplicate contacts. So you can only ever merge individuals with individuals and organizations with organizations. Households, some of you use, but not many, so I'm going to just pretend that top row doesn't exist. And focus mostly on individuals. So individual section here, it's got various existing rules. So we're going to look at the rules in a moment. And each rule has got a designated usage. So let's get to the next slide, John. Right, so a supervised rule is the rule that operates when a logged in user is adding a contact to the database. In that the process is supervised by a pair of eyes monitoring it, and they can make a decision and it's going along. Unsupervised rules are used by event pages and online forums, so there's no direct supervision from your organisation. People are just putting their details in and clicking away. Supervised rules, by and large, tend to be a bit more kind of fuzzy, so they'll turn up more potential duplicate contacts. So people can click through and say, oh no, this is this person that I'm entering. Unsupervised rules are a lot narrower. So it is, this person will match if, say, first name and last name and email and birthday, if you play that data, all match, then that's definitely a matching contact. We'll link those two, so these details will stick onto that existing record. If the birth date's out, if the first name's Joe instead of Joseph, Maeve instead of Mavis, then it'll say, actually, that could be a different person. So we'll say, this isn't a matching contact. We will create a duplicate on your record, on your database. And general rules. So general rules are the ones that you're most interested in, because it's the general rules that you're going to configure to say the matchup fields and use to run the De-Dupe process. Each contact type, try and get this right, and please ask questions if you want me to reiterate or clarify anything. For each contact type, so for individuals and for organizations, there can only ever be one supervised rule and one unsupervised rule. So if you create a new rule to say, oh, actually, I'm still seeing duplicates in my database, maybe if I try certain different search, I'll bring out more of them. If you, as you're creating that rule, you are presented the option to create this, you want to make this a supervised rule. And what that will do is it will just, yes, it will turn your rule into the supervised rule, it will turn the existing supervised rule into a general rule. So, rule of thumb, unless you absolutely know what you're doing, when you're adding a new rule to search for duplicates, just make it general. Makes life nice and simple, easier for all. Okay. So you've got to create a rule, and it's basically a rule is just a very simple search. It's searching the database, but only on 5 fields. So 5 contact fields. This is a fairly typical one. You've got to look at first name, last name, and email. Length, I tend to leave that blank. I don't find it very helpful. But what that's doing is it's scanning the length of the field entry. And so if you put 3 in there, it's got to scan the first 3 characters entered. So if you've got Michael and Mike, if you're looking at the first 3 characters, then that's got to be hit as that's going to be picked as a match. It's not going to be picked as a match because you've got MIC and MIK. If you set length to 2, then MI, then you've got to pick those up. But if you have set as 2, then Michael and Michelle might be picked up as a potential duplicate contact. So it's kind of useful, kind of not that useful. So I just generally tend to ignore it. But weight's the important thing. So in this example here, we've got first name, last name, and email. If 2 records are compared, the first name matches, that scores 1. If the last name matches, that scores 2. And if the email matches as well, that scores 3. So you've got potential 3 points. And the rule will consider a matching contact if it scores 2 out of 3. So for this rule, first name and last name matching will show you the potential duplicate. Last name and email matching through potential duplicate. First name and email matching through potential duplicate. That's quite a useful kind of setup. Yeah, I think that's any questions. Seem to be rattling through it quite a bit, no? So you've gone to find and merge duplicates. You've created a new rule, so now what you want to go do is go back and then you use the rule. And you can use the rule either against all contacts, in which case it will search against every single contact on the database, or you can specify a particular group that's existing on your database. You could set up a group for that have registered online in the last 12 months, so 12 months, 2 months. Just have that as a smart group, and then run the search, the duplicate search against that group. And what that does is it compares that group to all the other contacts on the database and flags up any potential duplicates that you've got. So when you've done that, you select, you hit run, and then you get taken to the next page, which is a list of all the potential matching duplicates. So if I was in here, then thing to do, you can either, if you can look at them on the front page and you think, yes, those are all matching, then you can show all the, select all the matching duplicates and batch merge the selected duplicates, or batch merge all the duplicates each, so pump all in one hit. But there will, generally speaking, be some kind of discrepancy. You might want to investigate it a bit further, in which case you hit the merge button here, and that then brings the two contacts side by side. Right, left. Okay, the one on the left is the contact that will be kept, be retained. The one on the right will be, if you merge them, will be deleted.
The going around, isn't it? The one on the right.
Which one's this? This is
Our right.
It's our right.
The left is going to be.
Yeah, like I said, the one on the left. This one. This one on my left will be kept.
What happens if, for example, the other day I noticed like we had 10 duplicates. If that's versions of old and council, will you just get like 5 rows of?
You'll have initially you'll have something like 20, but each will be picked as a duplicate with each other. So what you do is you hit the first one, you've merged them, and then you merge and go to next pair, and then so you probably do it about 10 times. But what you're doing is there's all sorts of different. So it will sort of like say, oh, this one is matched with these other 9. That one is also matched with these other 8. That one's matched.
Okay.
But as you merge them down, that shrinks down, so it looks quite scary to begin with. But as you, and to be honest, by the end of it, so right, okay. Are we going with right? We'll say the right. The one on the right. You're right. I'm right. We're all right.
What you were saying just then is that if you've got, say you've got 4 duplicates, and you've got another record which is the original one, which you think is the one you can keep. As far as that system and that search is going to show, it's going to show, it's going to compare the first record with the first duplicate. That's one duplicate. Going to compare that first one to another one, to the second, that's the third, not the fourth. So then you'll then compare these and identify that these are similar also. So in the system, it's not just saying, it's going to say you've got 4 duplicates, it's going to say you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus the 4, so it's going to say 9. Just because it doesn't just compare one record with each of the duplicates, it compares duplicates with each of the duplicates as well.
So what your options are, if you think this record is the one to be discarded is the more detailed and the one that you want to keep, there's a button that says split between original and duplicates, and that switches positions. If you think actually no, these are 2 completely different people, as I say, there's this option here, mark this pair as not a duplicate, and then they're not included in any future searches. For that rule that you just used or any other rule. And basically, I think it just looks at the contact ID number, and the one that was entered first is the original, and then whatever follows is the duplicate. I believe, yes. That's what seems to happen. So basically, any fields that are either empty on both or match on both are not shown. Any fields where the 2 things are different, they're both shown. Like I say, these details will be kept unless in the central column you check the central column, in which case that will be brought over. The information from the left-hand column will be brought into the right-hand column during the merge. And with not sure email address, phone number, and address fields. So with most fields, it's just a straight overwrite, but for email address, phone numbers, and street postal addresses, you've also got the option to add the duplicate address as an additional address or an additional phone number. So you don't have to, if you're not quite sure which one's the right one, you can bring both over and save both. And then down at the bottom, we've got groups, and because these contacts don't have any activities or relationships, also be shown on here in this green band is groups, contributions that the contacts have made, events that they've been to, activities recorded against them, relationships with other contacts. They're shown here, highlighted in green and pre-checked, and those two records are completely merged. So any activities on the new contact gets brought into the remaining contact. So things like that don't get lost unless you decide to uncheck. So any groups that this person is in, this person will then be added to as well. Right. Okay. I've got a game set up. Let's hunt and merge Billy Ray Cyrus. Have you got the demo set?
Yeah, I'm just going to switch over to the screens. And just go into here as well for you guys to see.
Oh, it's up there, right, okay. So, we've got a problem. Billy Ray Cyrus really wants a database and he keeps slinging our form. So if we start searching from there, look at that. He's in loads of times. He's filled in the form way too many times and he can't spell his name or email address correct. So we've got about 11, 12 Billy Ray Cyrus contacts in there. Don't know how they got in there. Might have been an import the other day.
Oh yeah, his email address includes CYRUS.
Yeah, I just gave him the same email.
They're all different actually.
The names are different. The emails are the same. I really wasn't committed enough to making the joke. But what we can do from here, so we've done a quick search and we found that we've got way too many Billy Ray Cyrus. To be honest, one Billy Ray Cyrus is way too many Billy Ray Cyrus. So if you go to contacts, find and merge duplicate contacts. So this is all that I've been telling you about. Just this is in action. And first, these rule names aren't really giving me enough of a clue as to what's going on. So what I'll do is I'll quickly make my own rule. So click Add Rule for Individuals. We're just making it a general rule. We're not too bothered about that. We've got to give it a name. First name. Last name. Email. And we'll put brackets 2 out of 3. Ain't bad, which is not a Billy Ray Cyrus song, but so we go. So the field that we want to search on first is first name. Then we also want to compare last name, and we want to compare email address. And what we'll do 1, 1, 1, and we say 2. Save. Takes us back to the rule listing screen. Here's our new rule. That's a use rule. I'm not going to select a group because I didn't put it into any groups to compare. Just got to search against all contacts. Oh, and here you come up. Loads and loads of Billy Ray Cyrus. Cyrus,
How many have you got? How many matches have you get? 35.
Yeah, but that's probably sort of like the first 12, sort of like the end of each round. So what we simply do, what we can do is just select all and batch merge selected duplicates. But what I'll do is I'll just take you through the one select all, and we'll do it kind of like one by one, the old school way. Right. So it's telling us that this was at the top of the list, so this went in first. So we've got, I think that's wrong. So we've got a flip between original and duplicate. So we've got to keep the Cyrus spelling there, email address and home address, all match. Right. Well, if nothing else, this presentation got a laugh from Mike. I'm taking that as a win. And that takes us on to the next step. There's nothing different between those two, so we won't flip anything, we won't merge anything, we'll just go merge and go to the next pair. Ooh. So, and so on. And you work it through until you just down to the single one, Christian Rock country superstar. Any questions? No. That was 15 minutes rather than 30. So don't be break over.
They don't use that.
Yeah.
And do people duplicate contacts? People have experience of doing that.
You say you've got that job to come, Kelly. It is. It's you know, it's got oh yeah no oh and if anything's been bugging about it, you know, it's just going to really good as you're going through it. But it can be quite. It's a good Friday afternoon job. If the decks are cleared, other people are out of the office, and you don't want to start anything big on you for the weekend, then I really suggest getting into it.
The other thing that I think is difficult about it sometimes when you're doing it, you're looking at two records, and if you're not the one that's making the duplicate, sometimes you're like, how the hell do you know which is wrong? So sometimes, and maybe it's naughty, but I'll merge them and I'll keep both email addresses, or...
No, I mean, that's what it's there for, so you can keep email addresses and phone numbers.
But I think one of them's always wrong.
Yeah.
You know, but you like...
And also, you know, people will sign up with a work email. I've lost count of the email addresses I've had, so I don't know what I've signed up with. So yeah, anything that gets pulled across. Yeah. Question? Yes.
Should I be asking this?
You can try.
You got your mailing preferences.
Mm-hmm.
If they're different, they could be different on two different contacts. You merge them, it's going to lose the. And it's just going to keep the one.
It's only going to keep one.
Keep the right hand one, isn't it?
Well, you can. Yeah.
There's no way to bring up the.
It depends.
GDPR preferences or anything like that on the merge screen.
But what it will show is the do not mail, do not email, do not post preferences. Right. So I think at that point, it's an executive decision, really. I mean, so what you can do is, if you've got do not email on, because it's not shown here because there's no class. If do not email was checked on this one, but not checked on this one, then this little box would appear in the middle. You'll be able to check it and bring that setting over.
Reasonable to take the latest choices with it in that situation, probably. You could justify that decision.
Yeah. I mean, what you can also do as well is, although it's not obvious, you can actually, thinking this is a slide, it's not, this is the actual database. You can actually then click here, and it takes you through to the record, so you can look at the records in a bit more detail. So you can look at the GDPR tab, although I didn't import any GDPR details, so, but you could sort of like go in.
Right.
And obviously that's taking it through on the same tab. So you may want to just right click and open link in new tab, so you've still got the merge page open. But you can look at go into each record and look at them in detail, which is what, yeah. We've got a client that batch imports client data, so their client data on a monthly basis. So one of my jobs every month is to do a batch import, and then anything that's not picked up by the import rules, we've got a couple of the rules that we don't do over the top. And it is, yeah, it's kind of like it's a spelling mistake, you know, the first name or the last name, so they don't quite automatically match up. And then it's a question of going there and almost phone up the client and say, look, I've got two, which one do you want to keep? But I guess if you know your own bill of data better, then you can make that decision in-house.
Does the can you end up with blank characters at the end of names and end of emails, or is that stopped, or that prevented when you're entering data?
No, you can.
You can.
Yeah, maybe not with an email. I don't know. It should be, especially if it.
Whether a web form trims it off, or as at the point of entry.
But also, if you're entering it into the admin contact detail, you can quite easily put a space in there as well, and that will count.
That'd be pretty hard to pick up.
Yeah,
Visually.
Yeah, it will be.
You can't do it with an email. You can't add space in the email.
No, I mean at the end, start or the end, you know, and then you're looking at two emails on a screen, one thing, they look the same thing.
First and last name can probably back them a space in the end. So, but that would be two different names. It wouldn't match. Yeah.
One thing I do when you or anything, I literally just search what it brings up to the entire database. I literally will sometimes just go out and go to N and see what you've put in M.
Yeah.
Like, literally that way.
So is it just select the two again,
Yeah.
each other, and yeah.
Our organisations that I know a lot of people search for like council, and then see like 20 things like council, 10 over in council.
Yeah. I mean, when I worked at back in the day when I worked at VCAT, it was Trafford Council, Trafford Metropolitan Council, CNBC. Sometimes just Trafford. So yeah, people. Yeah. We could get rid of people databases really now. Any other questions? Cool. I'll get out of your head.
I was going to say that it is quite a complicated challenge because the duplicates might be going into the system. Obviously, if people put in their data differently, they might have registered by one form, and they put in their details in such a way, they put in this email address, that phone number. You know, it could be just somebody's name changes. You know, people get married. People might put themselves in as David, their formal, legal name. Somebody might put themselves in as Dave on another day. There's lots of reasons why it can happen, but these rules help you to identify them. But like Craig said at the top of the presentation, I think only you guys can make a decision as to which one you think it is, because there could be two David Smiths, two different people, but they're probably going to have some information which is different if they're actually two different people. You might have something like the phone number will be different, or you might be able to see that their address is different, something like that.
Yeah, and we also used to work with one organisation that worked quite a lot of the same goals. And practically 2/3 of the database have the same name data.
And they're also popular first names.
So there were a lot of popular first names in there as well. And if I had been there, no. That's definitely good. So yeah.
I guess that's that. So that's that question of calling somebody that the same name died out.
You can get more useful.
Yeah, fine.
But then
can sometimes get fathers and sons with it.
Yeah, but then you know.
First name, surname. So we should have the same address.
Sorry, did you have a question? No. I'm just going to show you actually finish off what Amy was describing, which is quite often you might not use the rule, but you might just see it through your search results. So you'll just do a search and you'll find two people. I'm not going to find one now, am I?
Click on C. That'll bring up everyone with the search and then begin with C. That page filter is awful. Go down again. There we are.
Yeah. So we could do it. You could do it this way, but when you do a merge from the search contact search results screen, you only select 2 at a time. Which the advantage of doing it the method that Craig's showing you is that you can review all of them and then merge each of the pairs one by one. So if I do it this way, let's pretend there's only 2 there that I can see. Then from the action menu, you've got the option to do the merge, which doesn't do it straight away, which is great because you don't want it necessarily to merge the data. Immediately, you want to do the comparison, which is this screen here. And again, make sure that the record you want to keep is on the right-hand side. And this record is going to be effectively removed. It does tell you on the far right, doesn't it, whether it's a match or not, and what's different. So this spelling of Cyrus is different because the duplicate's got C-Y-R-U-S. Is that the correct one?
That's correct.
That's the correct one. So if you want to keep that spelling of that name, anything you want to keep from the left, you tick the box in the middle before you merge, okay? And like Amy said as well, if that email address was different, then you also add a new email address. You can click on this, I think, add it in by clicking that button there. But they are the same, so it doesn't matter. There's a merge one. Okay.
Yeah, so if you do just spot a couple of them, then you can search results, you can do that way, but obviously do the batch process.
All right. So the next part of our morning before we have a coffee break is going to be my bit on communications and automation in Civi CRM. Okay, so should we just do a straw poll? How many ways do you think you can communicate from Civi CRM? How many ways do we know of? Or just someone chat out one way that you can do? Email. Yep, email. Text. Yeah, text message, SMS. They're on the screen, I guess. So, any others? Do you think? So you can send an email to a contact record directly, okay? That's achieved from the action menu on the contact record screen. That's just one single email from your system to an individual email address. You can actually use the system to print letters. Does anyone do that here? Yep. Not only does it print the letter, create the Word document, it keeps a record of when that was printed.
Contribution and manage contribution, some contribution there, and that way.
Through the action menu. Yeah. Well, we'll go through it. I think it does. Well, I actually did this presentation. Well, when was it? I think it was March in London at CiviCamp, and when I did it then, anyway, it was doing that. So we'll find out shortly. Civi Mail is different to just sending one direct email because this is a bulk mail using the Civi Mail module. So this is like to a newsletter, a list of subscribers. And how many of you guys use that in this room? Yeah, most of us, I think. SMS, which it can talk to as well. And then we're going to talk about, right at the end, something called scheduled reminders, which is, I think, the most exciting part of this session for me. We'll come we'll come to that one shortly. So sending an email from CiviStream is the simplest one, and that's just using the action menu. So I'll go through that. Actually, it'll be easier actually for me to just go through the slides and then to go through the demo on the demo site like Greg did. Print a letter or documents from the action menu. That's just an option on the contact screen. CiviMail is specifically used to deal with subscription to lists or groups of contacts. The advantage of CiviMail is that people can unsubscribe from your list, so it's a managed list, and that's something you have to give people the option to if you are going to communicate with them in that method. They'll have the unsubscribe links at the bottom of their emails, for example. We've got the option to opt out of all bulk mailings, and you can see when they have opted out because it shows up clearly on their contact record that they're no longer wanting to receive those. Are people clear on the difference between these two, between unsubscribe and opt out? That's it exactly, yeah. So unsubscribe is somebody removing themselves from one of your mailing lists. Opt out is removing them from all of your mailing lists. So that's a kind of, if they've clicked on this link within the email, they're saying they don't want to hear from you at all. So that rule will override the unsubscribe rule. Okay. Another feature of CiviMail is tracking. So when mailings are sent through CiviMail, you'll have a report at the end of it which tells you things like how many opens there have been, how many click-throughs to links that you've embedded into the email. It will tell you the more basic things like how many people this mailing was sent to originally, and also how many bounces there were. The bounces are emails that don't reach the end user. Do people use those reports here in this room? Do they use them to look at success? Yeah. And is it helpful? Do people find the reporting useful?
We use it about when we were doing our data cleansing.
Yes. Yeah.
We use it for that. When you were thinking about the personal profile and next to the email on hold, is that something that we use or is that?
That's something that the system's done because it's bounced.
Right.
So a bounce is when CiviMail sends out an email to somebody's email address, and for whatever reason, that the system will send a message back saying why it didn't deliver.
Right.
It's an automatic system message, and the reasons for that can vary. So one reason why it might not get to your recipient is their mailbox might be full. So we'll get a message from their system saying the mailbox is full. It might be that the email address doesn't exist anymore. It might be that that email address, there's a typo. Somebody could have missed out on an email, so they're going to say the message from the server will be about the message, which tells us that that email address doesn't exist. There's all kinds of reasons. I'm sure everyone in the room has probably experienced some kind of email intermittent, some kind of issue wherever we've been, whether personally or professionally, we've had that, haven't we? And there's all kinds of reasons why emails don't deliver, unfortunately. Okay, the other one that I mentioned was SMS. That's text message, which is proving to be quite effective these days. I'd say it's probably more useful when you've got something coming up and you want to tell people something immediately. Some of our clients have appointment systems. We use CiviStream to create appointment activities. We send out the SMS reminders, or the system sends out the SMS reminder the day before that date, just to remind them, we've got you down as an appointment with us, please don't miss it. So that can be done manually by a user who's clicking through the action menu on the system. I'll show you how it's done in that way, but also talk to you about the automated reminders that can be set up in such a way that you don't have to think about it. And then as long as there's an activity in the system, CiviCRM will identify in relation to that date and the activity when that's happening, and then when to send out the SMS automatically rather than somebody doing it manually. That's the second part of what I'm going to be talking about. Okay, so before I go into scheduled reminders, I'll just go through those methods with you on screen, which is this one, I think. So send an email was the first one I went through, and that's simply, as long as the person's got an email address, something that appears in that action menu, which is send an email. You usually have the option, you can optionally have the option rather to send from your own email address. If we turn it on, it means that you can send from the email address that you logged into. Otherwise, if there's a system email address that's set up, which is like an organization one, such as info @ or inquiries @ then it will automatically revert to that as your from address. Okay, it just depends on how you want to, how you wish to deal with the response. From here, I don't know, are people fairly familiar with the screen? Yeah, generally. So I've selected the from address, the to address is shown on there, and then I can select a template if I want. So let's have a look at what this looks like. So we'll say, see our event, and again with mailings you can use tokens, which I can select from this menu here on the drop down. Tokens can be used within the subject as well, which I've just demonstrated. So that should say, see you at our events, Billy Ray or Billy, whichever the first name is. And tokens can also be used in the actual mailing body, the HTML down here. You can change anything like that. And then just send mail. That's a good point. I didn't anticipate for fictitious data being real. Well, I might get a GDPR. I'll be on the ICO soon, so let's look out. So we've got the email record as an activity here. Obviously, date and time it's sent and record. So that's just sending an email directly to a contact. Okay. What was the second one? What was the second? Sorry? Oh yeah, the letter, that's it, the letter. So now, not content that we've already sent him an email, we're going to make sure that he gets something through the post. Okay, so again, from the action menu, we look for the print merge document. In between versions, in between CiviCRM 4.6 and 4.7, they changed the label for this, I believe. So this used to be called, I think it used to be called print PDF. And the reason was because it didn't used to be able to do Word documents. So that's a new feature in 4.7. So if I do click on print merge document, remember on the previous screen how I could use a template to send an email. You can do the same with the letters. There might be certain letters and formats of things that you use regularly. An example might be, a invitation letter to come to an appointment. It might be a letter about membership. It might be a letter about just something which you send out regularly, which you can use. So here we've got, I don't think I've got any templates actually, which are letter templates. Make something up actually. So And this is a document here. So I'm just going to say, dear. Again, I'm using the tokens, which are useful for any personalization of communication. Okay. Because this is a letter, you're probably going to want to put some address details in there. Okay. We've got an American address only, so address. Okay. So I've done this from scratch. You can use the formatting options in the editor in the same way as you can in the HTML editor, okay? So right at the bottom, we now have the option to create either a PDF, which is a kind of read-only documents, portable document format. We can create a MS Word document, which is quite nice because actually once you download it, you can make some changes to that, although you should just make the edits on screen in CiviCRM. ODT or Open Office, has anyone come across that before? That's just one of the open standards amongst some of the things like, I think LibreOffice use it and Open Office, sorry, Apache Open Office. So that's actually, Microsoft Word will open ODT files as well. And you can also do a web page, which is a very unusual one, but there's those 4 options now. So I'm going to select Word, which is going to be fairly popular, and click on Download Document. Let's have a look. So I'm going to open the folder. You probably can't see this from home because I've only got one screen shared at a time. It should open. Okay, I need to minimize this over here. Yep. For everyone else who can't see this, I'm just opening the Word document that I've downloaded, and I'm going to drag it across to the screen that for people to see in the room. Okay. So can people, just for the people in the audience and everyone else, you know, you can see clearly there, can't you, that the address is showing and the content that I wrote. Okay.
When you put the address in, is it asking for the mailing address? Doesn't it? When you put in a contact system, you can do mailing, place, address.
It's using the primary one.
So what if the primary one isn't a mailing one?
It's going to use the primary one, I think. That's a good question, though. Let's test it out. I think it will use the primary one. That's a really good question. Okay, so everyone in the room has confirmed that this is working, even though you can't see it at home, but it is a document I created. I'm going to try and answer the first question. Oh, here we go. Yeah, this is the window that you can see now. So let's go, firstly, I'm going to go back to Billy Ray. And what it has done is it's created this activity in here, okay? So it has created an activity, which it doesn't do for you, Linda, okay? Well, we can investigate that. I'm sure that's something that can be resolved. It's showing 2 here, but I think it's just sort of gone back to this page. Oh, I see here. More?
No, the actual view it now.
It's got the template that we use, yeah.
Actually show the details that you would be up to
No, it doesn't. It doesn't show what they merged. No, but I think that's always been the case in series development. I think it's just showing you the tokens rather than actually what was sent.
Yeah.
So that's a good point, actually.
Which is the record then of the actual.
That's an activity, isn't it, rather than...
Yeah, this is an activity, but there isn't a. I suppose in this case, if you're doing it, like, do you do it as a PDF or as a Word? So the only record that you do have is the actual PDF file.
Yeah.
But it's not in the system, it's only in your, where you save them before you print them. Yeah, so my Word document does obviously have the details in. Oh, so Amy's question. Can you guys still hear me from home? My speaker kind of just made a weird noise. I think they can still hear me. Barry will pop down and tell me. Can you still hear me? Huh? No, it flashed. Sorry, it beeped.
No, you've lost the thing meeting.
So it's still recording, I'm still talking, I'm still the host.
Yeah. You've lost the screen. Share the screen again.
Screen share. Oh, there we go, yeah. If I do that again, then I'll be fine. Right, that should be it. Okay. I'm going to add in another address. I'm going to add in the work address for the person. Does anyone know what the person's other address is? Okay, so he's got the address here. So I think that this one is the primary contact, primary location. So let's go through that again and just do a merge document. What's that? That's better. Okay, there we go. So let's see what happens here. Download documents, MS Word. Yes, so it's still using the primary address. Okay. So that's something to be wary of. Okay.
Can you change it by token?
No, so you can set the location type. No, I can't see the token that does that. All the address tokens are up here at the top. So it looks like it's whatever is primary is one that it pulls through. Right. Yeah, it's me clicking back and it's not showing those things, but now refresh that, it's got those two addresses again. Okay, so that was the email. Is SMS next, wasn't it? Okay. I don't know if we've got SMS on here. Okay, so as long as they've got a mobile phone number, then the SMS extension will be able to communicate with them in that way. And you have to ensure the phone type there is set to mobile, which is that one. Just going to check. I'm going to reload the record, but I'm not sure actually we've got SMS on this site. I don't think we have. But sorry? Yeah. But it does work for anyone who does have it, who's got the SMS extension installed on theirs. And nobody's got that. But it works exactly the same way as sending an email. It just says send an SMS, and then in the screen, the next screen is the same. Okay? Okay. So I'm going to switch back to my presentation now, because the other part I wanted to cover was just about scheduled reminders. Okay, so scheduled map reminder in CiviSum is either an email or an SMS. When we talked about communications right at the beginning with different methods, remember things like phone calls aren't made from CiviSum. All you can do is use CiviSum to record the fact that you've had a phone call, you scheduled a phone call. So it's only email and SMS which set up scheduled reminders for, but they're sent out in relation to a different. Muted. Okay, it's back now.
He's quite good at text, but normally the same.
Okay, so for everyone who's at home who lost the connection, I was just talking about the different ways in which you can use schedule reminders, and they're to do with their in relation to activities, or events, contributions, or memberships. So here, this is the schedule reminder screen, and I'm just going to set one up just so you've got an idea of what's possible. So first thing first, we put in a title for the reminder. I'm just going to go for title, reminder about appointment. The next thing is the entity. So that was what I was talking about on the previous slide. What do you want this reminder to be in relation to? Is it about an activity, a contribution, an event, a membership, or a contact? So I think that's fairly new. So it looks like you can do reminders in relation to dates in the system against contact, when the record was created, even when their birth date was. So one way to send out birthday messages, I suppose. If we go with activity, and I don't know if we've got an appointment, activity type which is appointments. Let's just use initial appointments. And we can then, once we've selected the activity type, select the status of the activity. So we're going for scheduled initial appointments. And we're just saying that we want to send out a reminder about these at a period of time, probably before. I don't think it's worth reminding people after. So I'm going to send them out this message 3 days before that date. And we wanted to record an activity for the automated email so that you've got a log of when it went out. And then it's just a matter of completing the rest of the fields in here, which is who it's come from, the actual email that you want to show it's from. So it might be and there's an option for recipients here, which if we read the tooltip information, the two recipients can be contacts assigned to the activity, contacts who created it, or contacts whom it was with. So we want to send this to the activity targets. That's who the activity is with. And then this is it. This is just the actual message itself, which is okay. Does that make sense? What I've tried to demonstrate there? Can anyone think of any examples where they might be using it or they're already using that? Yes, Vicky. It's not actually. You mean, sorry, do you mean in the entities here?
Well, all of this is one, the least one function.
Oh yeah, yes. So so your question is it in this activity list for the St. Thomas Centre CVCM system, which I think it is actually. It's not in this list because this is not the same system and we don't have booking on here. Yeah, it would only, this is only obviously applicable to emails and SMSs. So if it's either one of those, probably an email is appropriate, isn't it? Some work we're doing at the moment, some of the projects, people want people to complete feedback surveys a few days after something's happened as well. So that's another example where it's going to be useful. We're doing that with you guys on the projects which we're working with at Mac. That particular message, yes, prevent, yeah, because as long as we've got the schedule reminders, the key thing you remember about schedule reminders, if you don't remember anything else to tell you about it today, is that they work off a date from the system, okay? So there has to be a date in the system which it can do the calculation based on. So obviously activities have got dates, events have got dates, like Keith said, Vicky, contributions have got dates, memberships have got dates, contacts even have dates. So those are the areas that you can set up. Those are all the areas that CVCM can send out scheduled reminders based from. Does that make sense? Any questions? Any? It's an administration option, okay? So it's in, many of you will not have the access to do this. So I'm demonstrating how it can be done. But it's a system setting, within a communication setting. So if you can't see this in the CVCM administer menu, you need to go to the communications area and then schedule reminders. And that takes you to the first screen where you can set up your first scheduled reminder. Okay? So was that kind of interesting or not? I'm not sure. Okay, that's useful. Okay. So right now we're going to have our coffee break, 15 minutes, I think. And then after that, we've got a 40-minute presentation, I think, on Webforms, Webforms, which is going to go through, actually, two of these guys are going to do it, but it's going to go through different levels of Webforms. So if you've never heard of Webforms before, you'll still learn something because that's going to be the first section. If you do know about Webforms, but you want to know a bit more about some of the extra functionality, then that's slightly more advanced. So that we've got beginners, we've got advanced, and we've got a bit more advanced, which Michael can do. develop some really clever things that we've managed to do and just want to demonstrate. So our keys and coffees are just going to be across the hall, straight over there. It'd be good to just network and speak with you there, and we'll be back in here in about 15 minutes, yeah? Sorry about the audio on that for people at home. I don't think they could hear the audio from the video. And also the video quality wasn't that great actually, was it? So, the next.
Yeah. So the benefits of having a web form is obviously your email confirmation form has been completed. You can send it out to multiple people, you can just to one person. So every time the form is completed, it can be sent so you know that the form has been completed. You can use that for event registration, like you said on there, for activities and things like that. And it will put the activity straight onto the Civi contact record as well. So it will be filed as an activity on there. The results from the web form being completed can be exported as a CSV. So you can save them and then you can basically do what you want with them when you've got them on a CSV. Logged in and logged out users have different views. The authorized users can see more than non-authorized users. So when you're logged in as a user, you'll be able to see more fields and things like that than the non-authorized users. So as logged in users, you'll always be an authorized user, whereas people who are going to your web form to complete it, they'll see a lot less than you would see as an authorized user. And for your confirmation page as well, you've got the option of having a thank you message, or you can direct them to another form, or you could direct them to a different part of your site, or onto a different part of a web form if you wanted to build an additional web form for additional information. So again, with Amy recently, we did 2 different web forms, and it led on to another web form. So one web form led into another web form. So some people didn't need to complete the second web form, but then some people did. So it just made more sense than having a really, really long web form and those 2 separate parts. So now I will show you the web form.
Web browser?
Yep.
Is it this one? Or this one?
That one.
This one.
That's fine.
Okay. I'm not sure this one. Okay. So next.
Yep, thank you. This is the web form that he created, so parent and child. What I've done is to create 2 additional children. I've put the same details in, so first name and last name, but I've also put a date of birth field in there as well. I've done the same thing with the relationship. So they've got relationship to parents, but you've also got the relationships between the children. So you've got sibling of, so the children are all siblings of. So the idea behind this web form as such is for like a play group. So if you're taking a group of children to a play group and you're taking 3, 4, 5 children at once. Yep. You do it through the Drupal part, and you go into content, and it's done through there. So you add your content there.
And then you choose.
And then you choose web form. That's how you would do it. So it's not done through Civi directly, it's done through the Drupal menu of Civi.
Yeah, this is just to clarify, because somebody's asking as well, who's on the webinar, that web form is a Drupal module, which I think everyone's site is on, Drupal site.
So when you view the web form, this is how the web form would view. So if he'd clicked on the view button and you'd have seen it, you would have seen that it asked for the parent's first name and last name, phone number and email address, and then child details. That's how his would have looked. It pre-populates the first name and last name as the logged in user. So this is what he was saying about having the option of clicking whether it displays you are logged in or not. So if I'm not wanting that, I can click here and it will remove someone's first name and last name. What I've done on here as well, I've added some conditionals. So we mentioned briefly about the conditionals on there. The conditional questions basically mean that you can say yes or no to something. So if I say yes, I want to add another child, it will bring in the option of adding the other child's details. If you didn't, then you can just skip past that, or you can just click on no and it won't bring it up. Another thing that he showed you was here, was about the groups. So the parent is in a group called Parents 2018. So that group is set up in Civi. You have to pre-set up the groups or the tags in Civi before you try and set them up in the web form. You just go into your Civi and manage a new group. Once you've done that, you can set them up in there. Again, that group could be used for a mailing list. It could be used just as a group, just so that you know who all your parents are that attend your group. So what we can do, I will add another child so you can see how it's done. Contact 5, it's called child 4. And we want his first name, last name, birth date, and check if they're an existing contact. They don't need to go into a group, but they do need the relationship. They want all the relationships. So the relationships the parent is child of, sibling. So we've got the parents there, child 1, child 2, pop child 4 there. Just put this one down.
Leave it just
Okay, isn't it? And then save. The birth date incorrect there. So it will be in the wrong format because I've not put it in the right place, but we can do that now. And it will say parent, child, add another child. You just click yes on this one. That's it. And child 4 is in there. But they've got stuck in with child 3. But you can add the other question in, or if you want to add another child, so you added the question again, and I'll show you where the conditionals are. So they add another child, yes, you show child 3, and add another child, yes, child 2 as well. So 2 and 3, and you can add another one if you wanted to show child 4. You just have to add another question or add another child. There's only 2 of them currently, so you can do that to add a 4th child on. Go back to the list.
zoom in this slide. Yep. That's fine. Okay.
So it would create the contact in Civi for you as well. So all the details that you put into that web form are created as activities. So the activities are filed onto that. You can file them as one activity for all of them, or as separate activities for each contact as well. And again, you saw the conditionals where you can hide the details or you can reveal the details just by clicking either yes or no. So validation is slightly different. So validation is for a required field. So if you wanted a required piece of information, so something that you have to gather as part of your organisation, so NHS numbers or dates of birth or anything like that, you can put that question in there and you can make it a required question, so they can't complete the web form without entering that information. They wouldn't be able to click submit basically without putting that in there. That's something that you can do through validation as well. And that's the end of my presentation. I'll hand over to Shahid now, who will do the intermediate part for you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shahid Islam, and I'm one of the manufacturing your databases. Hope you're all warm and well hydrated as well today. I wanted to actually talk about the intermediate level of web forms. So far, we've learned that you can have these amazing web forms that eliminate your stacks of paper forms, help you gather data,
and can be easily integrated into CRM. It can be emailed to the creator of the form, and you can make a better report based on the data collected. That's very useful, right? How many of you used Webforms before? No one? Okay. But what if I told you that you can use this form to create something more advanced using numbers? How useful would it be if you could use this form that calculates each field and gives you a sum? Then with that sum, you can output something else. For example, a point-based questionnaire form that is attached to a conditional statement like Sarah was showing you, and it allows you to choose a different page based on how many points you scored. Say hello to web form calculator. So before introducing you to this really powerful module, you need to have the web form module, which is the Drupal one, installed, and the web form calculator module installed for this to work properly. And a conditional statement is where an event is triggered based on action. For example, it's a button that takes you to another page. It's shown if you have over 10 points, or if you have less than 10 points, then another button is shown. As you know, you can set up different input types, such as a text field, a checkbox, a radio button, and a select box. I'm going to set up the form with the radio component button, and it's going to have a value of 1 point, or if it's a null, it's a value of 0 point, so it's going to tally up in the background. So the questionnaire is going to ask you, do you smoke? You select 1, it gives you a point in the background of 1. And you have a set of these other multiple choice questions, which also tally up based on what value you give it in the background. I'm going to show you the example later. So do you drink alcohol? Yes. I don't. And go to the next slide. And the web form is adding up the points in the background. Do you find it difficult to socialize? You press yes, it gives you another point as well. So based on what you scored, the sum is added up and it sets off a message and gives you another field. So you have scored 6 points. We believe our care and support service will be useful to you, and then something is presented to you like register with our service or something else based on the points you've gathered. Now, however, if you scored below a certain point, it can also give you another message and redirect you to register with our service as well, maintaining your health. So how does this data collection work with CRM? Now, on the web form, as you've seen, there's a CRM tab, and all the web form submissions are linked to an activity which is set up in the web form, and the case of contact or the logged in user filling it out. And I'm going to show you a live example.
Hey, some behind you.
Yeah, sure. So what I've done is I've set up a well-being questionnaire form. Now I'm going to go to the content page, sorry, and I'm going to click on the first questionnaire. And from there, you can see you've got a CRM tab, you've got web form, you've got an edit tab as well. So what I've done initially is I've gone to the CRM part, and I've set up these custom fields. Go to activities, under activities. So I've got, do you smoke, do you feel tired, time, do you drink alcohol, do you find time to socialize? Now, with this custom data set, it's all set up under the CRM tab into the software. If you just go to the yeah, to showing up here somewhere. Yeah, I think so. Oh, it's active, so
Just to be sure.
yeah, 1 second. Right. There you go. And I've been to administer customized data screen and custom fields. I've then set up a custom field called Wellbeing Questionnaire. I've set it up as a useful activities, and I've made it as a type of mental health evaluation. If you view and edit custom fields, you can see they're all set up as a radio button and some of the numbers and how can work. And you've also got if it's searchable and if it's enabled as well. So this is linked to the web form. Yeah. A radio button, that's a good question. So basically, a radio button is where you select. Yeah, these are radio buttons. So if you select that, do you smart? That is just, it's a type of input. So that's a radio button. You've got a checkbox as well. You've got also a text field, which is at the bottom here.
Or just the radio button.
You can only choose between one option or the other. You can't, with the checkbox, you can choose multiple options. With the radio button, it's either yes or no.
You can have more than 2 options. You can still only select one.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But the reason why we like to use radio buttons is there's not many options. If there's like 2 options, 3 options, 4 options, even maybe 5, you don't want to use, say, sometimes if you've got a drop-down box where you might have 10 options or 20 options, you don't want to use the radio necessarily unless you want every option to actually show on the screen.
So I've created the radio button and it says do smoke, and with these they've got points in the background as a value. So this one's got 1, this one's set up as 1, this one is also set up as 1, and this one's set up as 1. So based on how many I've selected, it says my total is 4, and then what would happen is it will show you the next example, which I couldn't get to work on this day, but usually what happens is another field is shown, and then from that you just input your data, like what your name is, your last name, you submit the data, and it gets saved into your CVCRM activity.
An example where we use that kind of conditions and scoring is if there's a form where you want to check people's eligibility. So for a program, you might say, do you live in the wards or do you live in Oldham? Are you over the age of 60? Do you have any carers or do you have any care responsibilities? Some of those questions can help people determine whether the next question, whether somebody's eligible to something, whether they should then be able to access some of the data reports.
Yeah, so that was my example, and I just want to say thank you for listening to my presentation. Hopefully that wasn't too painful. And I'll bring it to you now, Mike. He's going to show you the web form advanced section. Thank you very much.
John's control the yes, back onto the PowerPoint, please. Yep. Some of you might have a volunteer website, sort of fairly arbitrary kind of choice, but it demonstrates some of the stuff that you can do with web forms. So I'll share that with you. It's not just web forms, there's also the rules module we're going to introduce as well. First bit I'm going to show you is kind of stuff that you could do yourself, and then we'll briefly go on to some more advanced stuff that is probably development work, but it's just to give you an idea of what can be done. So typical workflow. Avon calling.
Yeah, I think we're back.
Excellent.
Are you back?
Yeah, he's back and he's bad. Right. Okay. So they find an opportunity on the website. They maybe have to fill out a form to create a user, a Drupal user, might have to log in, complete a second form to register as a volunteer, then has to go back and find the opportunity again, and then finally applies to the opportunity with a third form, which is a bit clunky and probably a bad user experience. So we go on to the, skip past that. Right, and I'll just demonstrate that first workflow on the site, so we can go. Sorry. Yep, we go on to just to do a. If you can open up a incognito window on the right. This site. Yeah, you just click out to. There's the three dots and new incognito window. That's all right. That's what we're after. And then if we go to demo, so it's like we're coming to the site as an anonymous user. So perhaps you can click on the search volunteering opportunities. So some fictitious volunteering opportunities. So they might, for example, actually transport volunteer, doesn't matter, click on any of them. All right, first thing I have to do is create an account. So if you click on that, and then I'll just fill that out. Can you fill in? Yeah, if you just fill out, say, my test or something, it doesn't matter. One or something, so we don't get any clashes. And then I'll use the email address, just mike1@gmgvo. So use the same. Just so it doesn't go anywhere, and then a password. Or whatever, as long as they match. And that's first name. I know we've got a problem with the theming on the stack, but wasn't able to resolve. Submit at the bottom. So now you've created they found the opportunity, they've created a Drupal account. And they go back and they go to the search, they've logged in. So if you go back to the volunteering opportunities, click on the transport volunteer again, and they've got to register as a volunteer. No, not that one. That one. That's people like that. And because they're logged in, it's actually got them, so it's asking for a little more information. Copy date in there. Doesn't matter, not really. Fantastic, and then maybe you get some other information from them, but like what kind of opportunities, and then you submit that. Back to the opportunity again, more details, and finally, this time because you're logged in, you can actually apply for the opportunity and go to the third form, which we don't need to fill out at the moment. But that's just to demonstrate how it might work if you. Yes. So the basic idea here is to, if you can go back a slide. Yes, no, that's it. That's right. I'm sorry. So basically, what we're going to try and do is remove the Drupal registration form from the process and create that silently in the background with something called the rules module. And with goals, remember the opportunity so that they go from the opportunity to the form, fill out one form, and return you back to the opportunity that they were interested in the first place. All logged in and nicely done. So So for the basic recipe, which we're talking about first, we need the rules module, rules UI, which is kind of part of the rules module, something called CVCRM entity module, and then we'll worry about the advanced one. So next slide, please. So what is the rules module? It's a Drupal module. If something happens in Drupal, a so-called event, and if certain conditions are true, then it performs some actions. So next slide, please. So a very common example, quite a useful one, probably the first way to use this is the user logged in, the condition, the user has the admin role, or it could be any role really, but and then the action is to redirect that user at login to a particular page. That might be quite useful. But in this particular case, what we're doing is we're actually going to respond to a tag being created in the web form. I remember, I think Sarah touched on, showed the tag. It was in the video, wasn't it? There's a tag that you can create on web forms. So the volunteer registration will actually create a tag. So in this case, the event was a tag was created. The conditions are the tag was created for a contact. The tag was the particular type that we're interested in, so it'd be something like volunteer registered. And we also want to check that there isn't already a Drupal user in existence for this person who's registering. And then, of course, the action is create a Drupal account linked to the CVCRM contact that the web form normally creates. Catch up with yourself. Okay, so Matt, if you can just pop back into the back end of yeah, that's the one. If you can go to click on that, and if you can enable that rule. Right. And if we have we can have a quick look at the interface as well to edit that just briefly. So, as I was saying before, so the event, the thing that happened was a tag was created by the web form. The tag was created for a user. The tag is of a particular type, and that there isn't an account already in existence for our contact. What we're going to do is going to create a Drupal user account linked to that silently, and in actual fact, we're going to add a volunteer role as well at the same time, which is kind of you might want to add. So we won't worry about that at the moment. Probably quite useful if we just nip into the action there and show you some of the options that we're going to use on here. We can scroll down a bit. Obviously, we want to activate the account. In this case, we're not going to send an account activation email, but we are going to instantly sign them in. So that's quite useful. So if we now go back to the incognito window, right? And if we log out that user, we'll go from the top again. This time, there's volunteering opportunities. Choose an opportunity. We'll get more details on one of them. And this time, we register as a volunteer again. This time, we're not doing the Drupal user creation. We fill out, as long as it's got a different email to before, then that's it, yeah. I think that's it, yeah. We can put a birthday in if you want. And that has, on the back of a web form, silently created a user and logged you in. So that's half the battle. So if we nip back to the point, please. So far so good. So what next? So far we've got the Drupal user account created, and a user logged in automatically on back of filling out a web form. That's the basic bit, which you may be able to do yourselves. But then we're moving on to the slightly more advanced bit. Remember I mentioned it'd be really nice if you could remember the opportunity or whatever page you came from, fill out a form, and then automatically be redirected back to that page. Nice smooth workflow. And of course, for the user creation, we never supplied a password. So if that person wants to log in again, they're going to have to do a password reset. They're not given the opportunity to set an initial password.
Although we could have sent them an email, couldn't we, on when their account was created?
It depends how you want. If you want the nice smooth workflow, then you've got to activate the account and log them in straight away.
Yeah.
If you're waiting for them to set the right password, that's going to interrupt the flow. So you know, it swings and roundabouts. But so these are both possible, but a little more difficult. I think it'd be development work essentially. So to remember a page, if you want to go from page A to a form, and then when that form's been filled out, go back to page A, then the basic strategy is that you're going to pass in an extra bit in the URLs. So that might be up to there. So up to there, that might be the URL of your form. But if you go to that form with a little something extra called the destination variable in there, then after you filled out that form, it's going to remember that and go back there. Just a click on that one. And next slide, please. And for the password, what we can do is we can kind of, well, we put two text fields in the web form, and we can make it behave very much like a password field. We can use the validation module, which I think Sarah touched on, to force a minimum length to make sure that the password and confirmation match. And we can add a little bit of JavaScript in the form too, so it masks it so that looks like a password field, so you don't see what it types. And what we're really doing here is we're really saving the password into a custom field in CVCRM, and then we're in the rule when it creates the Drupal account, it's pulling that information quietly out of the CVCRM part of the database and updating the Drupal user account. And what you should really do after that is empty the custom field in CVCRM, so you're not storing the database, just give it your users. So very quickly, we want to go back to the incognito window. Log out again. Search for volunteering opportunities. Go to an opportunity, doesn't matter which one. And then this time, when we click on that, it takes you through to pretty much the same form as before. Critically, it's remembered where you came from. So if you now fill that out, again, it needs to be a different email to before. Those two users already exist in the database. What I'm going to ask you to do here is put in a 4-character password and a 5-character password, something like that, something that doesn't match, and then try and submit the form. And the validation module is going to pop up and go, hang on, they've got to be at least 5 characters long, and they've got to match as well. So if we make 2 passwords that are 5 characters long and match, submit that.
I was testing it. I made them intentionally different.
Honestly, we're nearly through. It'll be lunchtime soon. And you've gone back there. You're back to the one you chose, and this time, of course, because you're logged in, there's an apply button, so you could apply and go for another form
there may be ways of rolling this up so that the application is part of the registration if you wanted to. So anyway, the big takeaways there are really, it's, with the rules module, you can do things like you can respond to events such as filling out a web form, creating a tag. You can create users quietly in the background. You can redirect places. You can add roles in the rules module. But the more fancy stuff would be development work, probably, that you want to come to us. But just to give you a little flavour of what's possible with the rules module and some of the ones like web token and things like that. Okay, I think that's me done. Everyone awake? Fantastic. Okay, I hope that was some interesting. So that can, it can just streamline your workflow and make the user experience a bit nicer on the side. If you think about how you want it to work for your anonymous users coming onto the site for the first time. Okay, so obviously some of this stuff applies. It's not just a volunteer registration, it's any web form. There you go. Right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. That's like the formal content for today. Yeah, we're going to actually, we've probably got an opportunity, half an hour or so, through a networking and also user clinic. So one of the things I think I mentioned to you guys before, if you've not been before, that we can actually sit down with you and you can spend some time with us to actually deal with specific questions here and now. And then after that, the lunch is going to arrive at 12:30. So if there's any questions you've got about things we've presented today, if anything kind of made you think maybe we can do something differently and take advantage of some of the existing stuff that works either with merging duplicates or with web forms or with communications automated reminders, then feel free to talk to us about that. Yeah, you'll receive a copy. I think all our customers will receive a copy of the presentations anyway and links to the videos. But now for the next half an hour, we'll have a user clinic session where you guys can ask us questions. Okay.